Very often in war, people forget the human cost. And in fact, India was really worried about PV Sindhu, who was stuck at the Dubai airport, back home now. She joins us now. Sindhu, welcome back home. How do you look back at the days gone by?
Yeah, I'm happy that I'm back home safe. I mean, it was scary, it was terrifying because, yeah, it's an experience. Like, nobody expects, that you get stuck, between the war and the airspace getting closed. I mean, that too out of nowhere. Like, you're actually doing a transit at Dubai, and then all of a sudden, all the flights getting suspended. So it was terrifying. I mean, yeah, it was scary.
What was the point at which you realized, boss, something is off, like things are really going south?
So yeah, like basically when we landed on the 28th in the afternoon around 1 p.m. and 1:15, they say us that the airspace is shut, and then next minute they say us all the flights are getting delayed. So at that point we were like, okay, flights getting delayed is normal. But suddenly after that they say all flights are suspended because of the war happening, and the airspace is completely closed. I mean, it's kind of a bit where you think like, what's going on, like, what suddenly happened, because few hours before, like my colleagues, like the badminton players, some of them who actually flew to Birmingham, they also had transit in Dubai, and they flew and they landed. So I was like, in within few hours, what happened? Like, what drastically changed that I had to be stuck here? So then they said, okay, maybe tomorrow it will be open, and we thought, okay, and then we started. Like we were sitting at the airport, and at the end of the day, like they told us that we are going to give you a transit hotel, and we're going to give you the updates of when the next flight is. And then I thought, okay, maybe one day or just couple of hours, and then we left to the hotel, and it was like it was crowded, because like all the flights all over got cancelled, and it was very crowded, and initially there was no place, and they were not allowing us to go out of the airport. The immigration was shut, and everything. So we waited for a couple of hours at the airport itself, and then we finally left. And when we were in the bus, actually on the way to the hotel, my coach was actually at the airport still. And all of a sudden he messaged us saying that there was a big sound, and we started running. And I mean, it was terrifying. And he was sitting and 100 meters away, like, all of a sudden he heard this sound and a lot of smoke. I don't know if it was an explosion or debris or a drone, whatever it was, but he said there was a lot of smoke, and they started running outside, and there was a transport, and they took the transport, and the airport authorities have took them to another hotel. So it was terrifying to hear, and we were a bit worried that is our coach safe or not, and everything. So that night was a bit hard, because we couldn't sleep. There were a lot of calls from my family members, and from everyone. I couldn't sleep. So the next day, like, we heard sounds. We could hear from the window. I've heard 5 6 times, and we've also got an emergency message on our phone saying that stay indoors and don't stay near to the windows, glass windows. So it was a bit actually hard to take, because we were also seeing the news, and constantly they were saying, okay, it's getting bad or it's getting worse. But I must say, I think the Indian consulate, in Dubai, and also our government were very helpful, and they've helped a lot of Indians, I would say, to get us back. And also, I've been getting a lot of calls from our sports minister and from the Badminton Association, of course, from the Raksha ma'am also as well, and also Rammohan Naidu sir, because he was asking us how the situation was and everything. So that way, I think, yeah, the government and the Indian Consulate General in Dubai were very, very helpful. And of course, the airport staff, they have accommodated every single person in different hotels. So that way
How
we were
soon did
safe.
they get in touch? Because I understand there were about 24 to 48 hours where there was a lot of confusion. In fact, first 24 hours, a lot of confusion. So when did people get in touch with you?
So can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Immediately, when this happened, there was a person, like couple of Indian consulate members were there, and they actually came to the airport and they helped, including me. They helped a lot of Indians, and they were like, okay, what destination are you going to? Because it was not just us going from Dubai, but also people who were coming from US also, were stuck, and from different countries as well. So they were like, okay, don't worry, everything will be fine. They were also giving us the airport staff were giving us some food, water bottles, and keeping us safe. And they said everything will be fine. And I think yesterday we also got a call from the airlines people saying, who took all our details, and they said that, if you want to go to India, please do come to the airport immediately. Even that time, I've actually asked, are there any flights to London so that I could actually participate? But I mean, there weren't like any flights. Everything was shut. So I mean, it is sad, but at the end of the day, it's important to be safe. So I think that was the first priority for me, to get out safe. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, in that moment, when even when you were in transit, did you hear any explosions close by? Did it at some point, did you have that feeling of, oh my God, this is too close?
When I was at the airport, no. But when my coach was at the airport, yes, he heard a big noise. I mean, just 100 meters away, like the next door, he heard, and there was a lot of smoke. I was not there at that point. I was going to the hotel at that point. But from the hotel, we could hear. I could hear three, four, five sounds. I was like, oh my God, like, what is it like? And I think it might be some interceptions as well. So I exactly don't know, but we could hear some sounds, and it was terrifying because you never hear them. All of a sudden, it's like first time. That experience itself is scary, and we keep seeing the news, and my parents also getting worried there. In India, like obviously it is hard to say, but like to actually talk to people, you say okay, everything will be fine, but inside you're actually scared. So yeah.
What were your parents saying?
Sorry.
What were your parents saying at that point?
I mean, they were like, don't go out of the hotel, just stay in the hotel. That's what they were saying, because, outside you never know how is it going to be, and what is it going to be like the next moment. Because, until afternoon, like 1 p.m., until we land, everything was fine. And immediately it has changed. So they were like, just be safe. And I hope they're providing all the food and accommodation is fine. I said, yes, everything was fine. That way it was fine. But they were like, don't come out, just be inside itself, and be careful, and, keep your things aside, what all are important to you. So that way they were a bit, but once I landed, they were, relieved.
And I saw you had a little bit of a disagreement online as well. And often, there's a huge gap between what you are experiencing there and what is there on social media, what is being filtered down back to India. So that little bit of, it was nice that, you set the record straight.
Yeah. No, I think Dubai, I think that, it's one of the safest places. And also, I must say, see, it's not easy for any flight attendant to actually get everyone to one place and keep them safe and accommodate them. It is not easy. Definitely, it will take time. There was a lot of chaos, and the immigration was shut, like, because from every terminal, I'm just talking about one terminal, imagine, like terminal 1, terminal 2, and terminal 3. Like, it's not an easy thing even for them. Even they are stressful, even they don't know what's going to happen, and when is it going to, even they are also under a lot of stress. So I understand, and also at the same time, but still they went out of their way and they helped all of them. That's why I had to, like, be there, because I know, I've seen, not only just me, I'm not just talking about me, but I'm talking about everybody out there. So I think hats off to them. The way they managed it has been amazing.
Yeah, everyone was being treated the same way, you would say. Because, there were also people who replied
Yeah.
saying maybe you being you are being given
No,
that
no,
treatment.
no, no, no. Because I have come in a flight yesterday, and there were a lot of Indians. It was not just me. It was not just me. I think the consulate people and the government have accommodated flights. Let's say only there were n number of flights to, let's say, Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, and Mumbai. And yeah, they've actually called the. A few of my friends also were in the flight who were coming to players. Actually, they were coming from Germany, if I'm not wrong, to Bangalore, and they got calls from the Emirates saying that please come to the airport. So it's not just me. So that's why I'm saying that. Yes.
You know, it's great to have you back, but a little bit of a regret that you had to miss out on All England.
Yeah, I mean, it is because, we've trained so hard for it, and all of a sudden this happens. I mean, there is a little bit, I would not say regret, but I would say it's sad. But at the end of the day, if I have to choose, I would definitely choose to be safe. That is the first priority for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, and 100% the entire country would choose to have you safe and right in our midst. PV Sandhu, great to have you back, and thanks very much for
Thank
speaking
you.
to us.
Thank you. Thank you.